I don't think you could get any more dad joke out of that one.
I'd be out there too. (6 o'clock), I'll call the meeting to order. Christina, you have a roll.
Yes.
I will dispense with the pledge unless there's an objection. Work session, we're not voting on anything. To the agenda. Tyler, would you like to be moved up? Unless you guys want to sit here for the whole meeting?
Nothing else to do tonight? No matter, we can go.
We can, if we could just move that to the front, we'll do that right after we approve the agenda.
Will we approve this evening's agenda?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. We will hear Birch and Beyond's request.
Good. Yeah, so basically, we're just looking to, there's a road easement going around our property. So like we asked the Beltrami County if we can put a entrance on that roadside, and they said no, so it's kind of like landlocked there. We're just seeing if we can kind of utilize that space there. And then with George having the property right next to it, we're just wondering, because there's that telephone post right there. And stop there as well, if we can bring wood back and forth across the property. And possibly put some gravel and.
Put the aerial of the GIS map up on the screen, maybe Tyler, you can navigate from that. So
Yeah.
the council has a good understanding of what locations are.
Yeah, so right here, this road right away, and then this one here. So like. Me and George are wanting to put gravel here if possible, that way we can cross with wood to go up to his yard there. And then if we were able to utilize a bit of space over here, maybe to stack some wood and stuff like that.
The property to the left there, that's owned by you, George?
What's that? This one here, this one
Yeah,
here is
the property
George's,
to the
yeah.
left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that just plain wood or is it treated wood or?
No, birch poles we do for decorative.
Does anybody know what the purpose of the right of way is on the south side there? It seems like a wide part.
Yeah, so the way the city was platted, that is actually Euclid Avenue. It's never been improved. So Cedar and Main Street, which or Railroad, which is over here, it kind of intersects it and makes the smaller right of way that intersects George's property is technically the alley.
The alley, right, I was.
Yep.
More of that.
Yep. And it just continues till you get to what Euclid is, and that's the wider of it, Ron. I think I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah,
Okay,
so the wide part was a street and the narrow was the alley.
that is correct. Yep.
And you said the county said no about accessing the road?
To put an approach in, yeah, they said that because we already have one driveway.
Yeah.
So
So
I wanted it to wrap around that way when transports come in, they can go in and out, but. Not the case.
That's pretty typical. County.
So that would be where that right away for Euclid is, right? Where you wanted to do that.
Yeah,
They-
or if we even utilize it at least.
And that's where that fence is. Taken
Was,
out, so, yeah.
Yeah, technically it was built on the right of way already, so
To be.
thank you for taking it off the right of way.
Mhm.
Even though you're using the property, but that's the way it's been like mowed forever, so.
To be clear, they're not asking us to abandon it.
Yeah, they just want to use it.
Do you think you'll do anything to the alley right away to improve? The property so that, you know, your vehicles won't wreck it, cause I don't really know what the. Altitude, you know, the height of the property is, the slope of it towards George's.
There is a dip, like we can always like peel off the topsoil and put some gravel. If we need to put some tile and drainage, we can.
Well, they're already using a portion of that right away though, it looks like.
Probably because, where's the telephone pole again? Or the communication, is it electric
This-
pole?
Yeah,
there's a- there's
This
a-
isn't part of your yard here.
Communications.
No, I mean this right away. This isn't part of your yard here.
No,
It isn't.
no, it's the
Really?
street.
That's what they were saying, that fence was there, but it's
Yep.
not, never on the property.
Oh, wow.
When Ron built that piece, when Ron built that property,
So,
there was no permit for it.
not this Ron,
No,
Yeah.
no, to be clear, not the councilman,
use the last name,
Anderson,
yes.
yes.
Well, yeah, I guess I don't see a problem.
I think you just want to visit with your attorney, maybe get some sort of an agreement, maybe or something like that.
Better if you guys wanna just sell
That would require us to abandon it.
it. Whatever's easier.
That's not easy.
Limited use, that's-
Anybody wants, do you want to speed something up, Tyler? You involve the government, yeah. Yeah, it's not.
But that's still a process to go.
It is still a process. If you vacate it, I mean. There's no utilities under either one of those right of ways that I know of.
Mike,
We had no utility there. I mean, the fence and the yard has already been out into the one easement for years anyways,
so,
that, I mean, it really doesn't matter, and quite honestly, we're never going to do anything down there.
no, it's too wet.
You know, it drains to where the creek comes through there and it's wet, nobody's ever gonna do anything. Only thing I would say or caution would be, whatever is done. That we, as the city, are not going to maintain it.
That's why you get an agreement, yeah, to be exclusive and clear on that. No.
Yeah, we don't want. In the past, in Blackduck, there's been a whole lot of stuff that was supposedly done. So-and-so said we could, and then turns out we don't have any documentation on
Yeah.
any of it. I'd rather just make sure that those are. T's are crossed before we say, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we should have something that says we're not abandoning it, it's just
It's just an agreement between
Yeah,
the city and yourself.
if we don't need it, and you can use it to make your business even more successful and bring more people to town.
How many trucks?
Generate more revenue, then let's do that, but I think we'd want to get something in writing that says we're not abandoning it, and you have permission to use it in this way.
So that, yeah, it wouldn't be transferable.
I can connect with the city attorney for some language. And put it in front of the council at the April 10th meeting. For approval.
If we can get it done that
If I
fast,
can get it done that fast,
I'm all for it.
then have both parties sign off on it if I can get it done that fast.
Seriously? Fair enough, Tyler. George, thank you.
Thank you very much.
No, we don't have to keep you for the rest of the morning stuff, unless you
Yeah.
really wanna hang out.
Nope.
Guys, have a good night. By the sun.
Watch snow melt. On to old business. Tim?
I have been working with, a little bit to kind of get all the financial stuff squared away. We kind of talked about that, I think. At the last work session, maybe 2 work sessions ago, but, that stuff brought up to the current numbers. Then we've been kind of working through the number of connections and stuff like that, because there's a couple different ways it can be calculated, so we're still kind of working through that. Christina's given me a couple different versions.
Give
so
me
that-
3 versions.
Well, we're gonna work through that, so we make sure we have the correct number, because that's pretty valuable in the affordability calc, is how many connections or dwellings you have, so. We wanna make sure we get that right, and then, our environmental staff has started on the environmental report, they're sending out letters, early this week. To the different regulatory agencies for comment period, and that comment period is typically a 60-day period, so within, 2 months, their comment period will be over, and if they have comments, then it's like, there's 30 days after that, so within, the maximum of 3 months, the environmental report should be pretty much complete with the different agencies signing off on it, or,
How many different agencies?
it really
It can be
depends.
anyone, Department of Health, NPCA, Corps of Engineers, the whole list.
And then it gets into tribal stuff too.
Yeah.
Is that because of, the like watershed?
No, that's any
Yeah,
program. any
Okay.
which
project.
anything up environmental, they have you sent it to a variety of payments,
Yeah, I think
Most of
it's
them.
kind of tied to section 106, which is a federal regulation, so.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Greek.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then,
Guess I have no idea what that is.
yeah.
and then the environmental staff, they can work, concurrently as well, but putting together the narrative of the report, and then they attach all these responses on as an appendix in the end. But yeah, so I mean, they're definitely making good progress in
The
that
good
way.
news is we're getting down, yeah.
Yeah,
So are we thinking a timeline is like end of 25, it'll be submitted, or sooner, or longer, sooner?
Yeah, we were just talking about that. We'll want to get you on the intended use plan. And so then what that will do for us is we'll bring a proposal forth to put in application to RD and into PFA. I would imagine we'd run these concurrently. So we can work that out with you, Christina, if you want to do any of those efforts yourself, or if you want assistance, we work with you on that.
And those usually end up at the end of the fiscal year, so end of June.
Yeah, the IUP has to be done, application has to be done by June.
Yeah.
But then, we could put in RD at any time, and then we would have to put in for PFA. For fall. sometime.
Yeah. Yeah, because if anything's approved, it wouldn't be until 26. Plus they're doing a budget year. So we may not see money until
So
27.
you may not see, it. I think it would be pretty unlikely you'd see anything in 26, but.
Yeah.
You can always hope, but
Okay.
like you said.
You
You get government involved, it doesn't go quickly.
Right,
because then we'll work with Gail and get her regulations too, because once all that's in, we'll want to look at the small cities timeline, which is typically in the fall.
okay, yeah,
For another add-on grant, and then I have to look at the map, I don't know if you're an IRRB, I think
Nope.
you're not.
I wish
It'd be nice, wouldn't it? It would help.
there'd be some more money out there for a lot of programs that we could use for.
You are in Blandon though, right? You got
Landon,
some
yes,
$10.
Concon, no, IRRB, no.
Yeah.
And Blandon qualifies just because of this, the rural
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
classification.
Yeah, that's kind of the timeline there, so.
Okay.
Any questions?
Progress.
And we keep bugging Mike, we're one of his favorite things.
Hey, just give me some money so I can fix this stuff.
Yeah.
He'll give you whatever you need.
You'll be good to go, right?
My chewing gum and paper clips at the water plant, they're maxed out. They're doing all they can.
Going to duct tape now?
That WD-40.
We're moving from MacGyver to red green.
Yeah,
Flex seal, that's what we need.
Oh, there you go.
we're long past flex.
Oh, shoot.
Okay, anything for Woodstock? Thanks, guys. Our Kitchigami Regional Library Improvement Project.
So I'm gonna ask Don to participate in this conversation, so. At the end of 24, the Department of Education put out a grant application opportunity to library facilities that were going to improve upon their facilities for private meeting spaces. A lot of the money from this grant opportunity came from COVID money. And yep, because the Board of Education has it. Went out statewide. Kelly, myself and Melissa threw a Hail Mary and put in an application in less than 3 weeks. Because it was due the end of December and we found out after Thanksgiving that we had an opportunity to do this. So we put this grant application together and did receive a notification last Friday from the Board of Education that we're moving on to the next step. They want to help us with our project. So what we asked for was like $50,000 to help with the electronic portion of the private meeting space in case it had to be like communications. And to help us in our efforts to improve the library. So I have another meeting with Lee she's the public engagement director from the Department of Education this week to discuss what those next steps are, but I wanted to inform everybody that that money will go to any unmet need for our project, which is good. The other thing I wanted to touch on tonight is the approval of the estimate from Gunderson went to the local library board last Tuesday and then to Kitchigami's meeting last Thursday, and Don attended both of those meetings. And how did that go?
And thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
Don.
Yeah, I learned a lot. At both meetings, so. Blackduck's meeting went very well, they were, very, well, received in me, I guess.
They didn't try to run you out.
No,
Yeah.
very nice, group of women there. They liked what, that we approved, to get the rest of our money from the capital appropriation money. And then, that we approved that, so, and then that we had approved, the contractor to start whatever he could and everything on their project, and they're happy about that. And so I understood the grant got approved.
But there's more steps to
Okay,
moving forward. Yeah.
okay, so.
Yeah.
So I understood that, Bemidji and Brainerd both got approved for grants.
Good. Of this one that we applied for?
Yes,
Great.
so no, excuse me, Blackduck and Brainerd got approved for grants.
Bemidji?
No.
Did they apply? Did they talk about that?
They didn't say.
Okay.
Brainerd got like $422,000.
So, well, okay, so just to fill you guys in, the amount of money that they threw out was, you know, they took the state and they divided it into 4 quadrants. So we're competing against the whole northwest corner of the state for $2.3 million. So, you know, we didn't know how much we needed, but we needed something. We didn't want to ask for more than what we needed, but we're happy to at least throw our hat in the ring. Knowing there's bigger facilities probably asking for $1 million and getting approved.
And not necessarily everybody that asked for what they wanted got.
What they wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's pretty typical of state grants.
So then at the regional, Itagami regional meeting, it was very interesting to listen to what how their business went, you know. And the vice chair, this Maryland lady, she was very up on this technology. She was actually pushing for more money and grants for smaller communities.
Mhm.
She talked quite a bit about for this money for Kichigami actually to find monies for these smaller libraries like ours and other small ones in the community. So she wants Kichigami to see what they can do in their budget to find more money for technology. Because a lot of the smaller libraries can't afford to do this.
Nice.
So, and I listened to her, she kept on going on and on and on about this, and I was like, wow, I mean, you know. And I was trying to figure out who she was, and I was going through the minutes, and then I figured out who she was. You know, I couldn't hear her very well, but, but they released, so they approved the release of our 57 or $57,583 for Blackduck.
Good.
Okay.
And so they were very happy to release it if we're gonna upgrade our.
Did you go down to Pine River?
No, I did it online.
Okay.
But she'd help me. That all figured out, so.
I believe Lori's been attending most of her meetings by Zoom since she's been on the board. Ever since COVID, it's pretty much been the easiest way, because prior to that, people would carpool from here all the way down to Pine River. Wasn't easy,
There was a lot of people on Zoom,
yeah.
you know, there's the major chairs were there, so. No, I mean, you gotta vote on everything and. So people are popping up and down and left and right on it. So it was. So it was very interesting, so.
When that money gets sent, then I'll put it in a separate project fund. And we'll release the money, you know, as it's billed from Tony. Gustafson as the project progresses, so. I imagine what I'll probably do is much like I did for the community facility or the public works facilities, I'll have work orders or payment releases for you guys to formally approve and consent agenda each month, depending on how long it takes and how Tony invoices the city. His projected timeline was that between him and his subs, it would take about 6 to 8 weeks to complete the project. So he could be done if he starts mid-May, which was my last communication with him by like the end of June with that phase. So hopefully that'll still be true.
And will he be doing work that is covered by this grant?
No, this additional work that's covered by this grant, what Melissa and Kelly and I came up with was, for the most part, the we're going to let me back up. What we asked for was basically the FF&E, the technology, the furniture, and the furnishings for that part of the project.
Okay, yeah, the reason I asked that is I did read some of this.
Yep.
And there's a prohibition which advises you to not incur or pay any expenses prior to the full approval.
Correct. Anything you go to the state,
Any invoice that's
Yep.
paid, you do not get the money for it.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
I just wanted to highlight that.
yeah,
There's the-
nope, that'll be
There's
the
these
end.
little killer sentences.
Yes.
Every document.
Every state grant project I've done that has money coming from the state, they will not reimburse you.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's been hammered in my head.
So what is it? So there's more rounds to this grant thing you said?
No, I got received an email today from Lee Her. She wants to meet with me in regards to the project and get some more details. So I don't think we've been denied, if that's what your caution is. I just think she's got some questions about our budget.
Probably why it's so small.
That, yes. Yes, I mean, I could have asked for the world, but the problem is that to me, you know, you don't ask for more than what you can use because you know that if you do that, like Don says, you may not get it even all approved and then you gotta go back and redo your budget again.
Yeah.
So, I never ask for more than what's realistic for fear of getting denied. I'd rather have some than none.
And that's the first time I've ever been in the library over here, you know, my bad, but, you know, you don't have a lot of area there for,
No,
you know, computers or stuff.
Yeah.
So it's gonna take some finessing to figure this all out.
Yeah, I think the plan in place to reduce down to one family restroom. And create a private meeting space with a second one is perfect.
I think that's a good. plan.
Yeah. And Tony had some really great conceptions to make that work based upon our first ideas. So I think we'll be good, especially if you take the office walls away, you've got a bigger sight line. And we've got more opportunities to add public technology somewhere else because of it. Readjust where the shelving is for the books and so forth, once that's gone. A little bit more of a template to work for.
You know, moving stuff around in there, it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna be good. You know, they're all looking forward to it, so.
Kelly just wants it done.
oh, I imagine she does.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? And Don, thanks again.
No problem.
Lion stuff. Can you cut a hole in that thing yet?
Nope, not till it's decent outside.
Just stop snowing. Right.
Once it's dry and everything, we'll do it.
The chamber had talked about forming a committee to help with funding for whatever this project is going to cost.
Very little if you let me do it my way.
And yes. We will all see, won't we?
Yeah, as soon as we get it opened up, then we'll know more. I'm guessing, like we talked, it's a pretty simple structure, I would guess, so. Once it dries up and there's not standing water and stuff down there, we'll cut into it and we'll get it figured out.
Yeah, and I think once we've got that knocked out and we know that it's on a stable format, then we can move forward with finding somebody that can do the updates to the statute itself. So we may be very likely still fitting into our existing budget. What I think would be advantageous for the chamber is maybe if there's connections and networking that the business people from the chamber can do is to help us find somebody, like we talked about the last work session, who would be a good person that's willing, civic minded to maybe do the painting and the fixing of
Because
the
it's-
statue itself.
It's funny that as much as we see this on our agendas all the time, the guy at the chamber sees it too, on his agendas.
Well, good thing you've been on both sides and you understand what's going
And, you
on.
know, I'd really like to not see it on the agenda.
So, even on my agenda, so. Reading this thing, what I'm- just pulling it up on his computer, reading it. We talked about it for quite a long time.
We'll have some progress then, eventually.
Well, it's nice though.
I know, I just, just ducky.
But I'm serious, if the chamber wants to help, I think really resources are probably the best way the chamber could work right now in terms of
It's finding those people. that
is
are
finding
willing
those connections and those people, yeah,
to- Okay,
yeah. If there's more money to be had, you know, let's
Well-
cover that when we figure out
there's
what's
another duck too, so
true.
that's another.
Right, I mean, we talked about doing this event and everything, and it's just. I mean, that's crazy expensive, and we definitely still wanna partner with fire relief and do something down on that corner. But we've gotta connect those dots as well and figure it out. So right now, you know, the sod that's there is fine. We'll keep that. We're not gonna rip anything out and make it impervious yet.
Right. Anything else on the ducks? City Hall,
Where did I leave off last month? I have no updates on City Hall.
and the citywide cleanup, day 4.
Oh, that's just my version of the.
Day 4. That's the- We're keeping track
That's just
of
the
the.
file number.
How many would that,
Max.
how many would that be? Why duck restoration
No,
25?
the planning commission met the, decision from the last council meeting about where the, cleanup day would go. I've made it, into an online registration form. It is live on the website right now. I sent it out in socials, and I put a due date on registration to May 9th. So as it sits right now, I have directed, Paige as well, not to take any phone call registrations. Much like the chamber's, garage sale thing. I think that went all online at some point too, to keep and reduce the communication issues. You're gonna direct everybody online to register. So,
Technology.
yep. And hopefully everything will come out fine. I think, when we talk again, meet again next month, we'll, reevaluate what we need for manpower based upon what kind of registrations are coming.
And since it's volunteers picking it up,
Yep,
are we going to try to have Beltrami County bring an extra dumpster to us down there?
I can most certainly notify them that we're gonna do it on this day. I can send their office, the flyer so that they know we're gonna do it on that day.
Is, I think, out of everything that happened that day. All of the things, you know, even the amount of time, that's fine, but. Being told once you drove out there that you had to go to Bemidji,
Yeah,
that was. Kind of the straw.
yeah, that kind of sucks. I think maybe having it on the Thursday might eliminate that, but I'll notify Beltrami County. I'm gonna wait a little bit till it gets closer though.
Okay, so we know, have a little better idea maybe how much.
Yeah,
Did we notify just the people out there? Did we notify the Bemidji waste management?
We-
to
We
be
did.
Prepared for,
Yes, was the answer to that,
and they still didn't.
and. Yes, I know that Justin had been in touch with.
Bemidji's.
Yeah.
I feel like they could have brought an extra roll off or something there, if they knew we were having a citywide cleanup.
Weren't they kind of going through their transition of manpower last year around this time?
Yes, they were.
It was a kind of a fiasco.
And Justin was getting flack from
Yep.
6 different ways.
Yeah,
You know,
so-
at any given moment.
So we just need to move past that and try to get in front of it as best as we can.
Okay,
If we're at the end of old business, if the council will permit me, I'd like to add an item to old business that we've already discussed
I suppose.
last, and it's my fault for not emailing Christina, but she's so efficient in getting out the agenda that it was sent out like 11:30 today, but the reason I think it's appropriate now is Councilor Johnson, my colleague, introduced it last meeting under new business. But now that we've talked about it, it's old business, and that is the subject of dog droppings within the greater Blackduck area. So I know Don had mentioned a particular property, and after that, that got me kind of curious, and to my surprise, I find that my property, within my property lines, has become a large depository for amounts of droppings, that it wasn't in the past. So in the past 3 years, I think I've cleaned up maybe one mess per year, which is good. And property line on my east side along the right of way has large quantities of deposits. None of which I'm responsible for because I have 0 dogs or 0 animals. So since this has increased greatly, I assume if I was Sherlock Holmes, I'd say it must be because one offending party has come into the area where no offending parties. So it's not just a problem, where Don had mentioned, it's
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be.
Problem
It's
citywide.
a citywide problem, including the water tower property, even before
the smirk on your face that got me, Ron, I'm sorry.
even before I moved back here, I mean, my general contractor warned me, if you go over to the water tower, watch where you step, because it's like a dog park. It's like I think I mentioned this last time, I've never seen anyone over there with a plastic bag. It's a one-way trip. There was one neighbor I had who since moved, across the way, a rental tenant who said he took bags from the rest area, which I didn't really mind, because at least that many cleaned up his stuff, so. I don't know what we can do. I don't know I know, Christina, you put something on the Facebook page.
Yes.
that
I did. I cannibalized that from the Bemidji Police Department.
I don't know if there's anything we can do regarding signage, which references city ordinance. I know you had a graphic on the Facebook page, but that was more like be kind, and these are deliberate offenders, so
I
if we
know,
put anything up, I'd like to have the word city ordinance appear on it.
and, well, okay, I mean,
Do we put?
several questions go through my head. Where do I put it?
Mhm.
How do I address it? Who do I send it to?
Mhm.
The problem is those offenders know who they are and they don't care.
Mhm.
I've said this before. And the only way to get it to stop is to humiliate them. And I don't even know if they'll still care or not. And it's frustrating because they're all non-property owners.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I'm in agreement with that statement. I mean,
Yeah.
That's why I thought the sign that you, on the Facebook page was,
It was great.
they already know that what they're doing. I don't think it's the proper.
I know.
But I mean, there must be some pre-printed signs we can buy from companies that make signs for cities that reference, city ordinance. And if you're not,
Yeah.
is that?
Yeah,
People don't read signs either.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing, from what I've noticed, the sign's not gonna deter. It's gonna be, hey, it's posted, but it's not gonna stop it.
Mm,
advocating for a clean city is everybody's initiative. I have literally, and I'm sure Mike can swear to this, I have run across the street after a meeting and stopped somebody mid-poop. As they're walking back into their apartment. And they still do it. So when it is a renter, we as the city don't know the tenants. You know, we don't have names, we don't have property owners' names, so I can't like, I have to, you know, find the landlord. But you have to catch the person in the act in order for that person to be fined. And I don't know how one person can do it, even if Travis can help.
Like, how are you gonna,
It is a community effort to keep this community clean. And that goes for not just dog feces, that goes for everything. And if you're willing to share the burden of, you know, telling somebody when they're in the wrong, then do it. This is our town. You guys have chose to live here. You want it to be a good place. Support it. Yeah, I'm sure you don't want to have to clean up what's on the other side of your fence at all. You don't have a dog. You should have no reason to have that. No one does.
But I think if you are gonna catch someone and cite them, you know. Does having property posted mean nothing as far as whether they can get out of it by saying they're unaware of it? Does that mean nothing?
ignorance is never.
Yeah.
An excuse.
Well, if the property was posted, I would have known not to have my dog do that.
I guess,
If
I
you
mean,
don't
my
own
front,
if you don't own the property, it's not yours to have your dog take a dump all over it.
yeah, I guess, I think it goes both in both directions. I mean, if you're a pet owner and you go someplace that's not your property, you pick up after your pet. Period. Doesn't matter if you're in a city or your friend's house or a state park or anything. If you're an owner of a dog, that's what you do. So you're just a bad dog owner in my mind. And how do you keep these people from owning pets? But Mike's right. It's not your property. Why would you care?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, whether you got signs, anything, it's enforceable because, I mean, like Max said, you know. You can't just claim stupidity and oh, I can do this. No, it's your deal.
It's
to
your
know
deal. You cannot
the
tell me you
ordinances of
don't
town.
know.
No.
And everybody knows that you don't just let your dog go on somebody else's yard or somebody else's.
Or on the
property.
sidewalk for crying out loud.
Over here,
Yeah, yeah, that was a letter too. And a phone call.
well, I mean, plain and simply, it's apartment buildings, right? They got no yards in this one and this one over here. Why on earth you own a dog and there's no grass for it ever is beyond me. And then like Christina said, I don't know what you're gonna do about it. You can write them tickets, it's like everything else, people are hard-headed, they don't care, what's the ticket gonna cost, $20? $25, they don't care. That's the sad part about it.
Yeah. We don't have animal control. We don't have a reason to, you know, take the animal. Unless it's deemed dangerous.
Well, the animal's not doing anything wrong,
Agreed.
you know, it's the owner.
Good point.
You know,
He's just doing what he's gotta do.
well,
Yeah. Yeah,
They're not doing what they're supposed to do.
right.
I don't know, Ron, what, did you have?
I'm-
Any other suggestions?
I'm not objective,
We can put the signs up.
we can put the signs on the water tower property if we can find them, or at least the doggy bag thing on the water tower, but once the bags are gone, then they're gonna say, well, you were out of bags.
Then where are they gonna put the bags? Because there's no disposal on the water tower property, and they're gonna take them.
You know
back
what?
in
There
the
was no
apartment?
bags and no waste container on the other side of your fence either. So why was that right? It goes back to the person that owns the pet.
You're taking your dog out to go to the bathroom, bring a Walmart bag.
Correct.
Mhm.
I have no problem being on this public format and telling people, take care of your pets.
Mhm.
Because it's upsetting the rest of the community. Be a good neighbor. We're too small of a community to take advantage of that.
Start naming names.
Take a picture of when you're out there. Click. On your phone.
My flip phone can take pictures. Well, I'd like to think about signage. I mean, I
Start
have
calling them
to,
out.
I think that means something and citing something if the property is posted specifically. I don't know what.
You might get under their skin enough, Ron, that they do it. You might. If you know, it's worth a shot. I guess I'd.
Maybe a billboard.
You could go to Nye Bottling and have them make a poster and you could put it on the back of your fence on the alley side saying, do not let your dog poop in my yard. It would be a free poster. We'll see how much traction that takes.
I will get you Bucky's number
Do not.
from
poop here.
Pepsi. He will be happy to make sure we get that sign.
I can look into finding some signage.
I thought, like I said, the Facebook one, that's what got me the idea, but that's far too polite. That's like for
100%,
grade school, like, please be kind. It's like.
100%.
It's in the ordinance,
I noted the ordinance.
Yeah, I don't know what's available over at this property as far as signposts, in existence, something could be added to. There's certainly a post over in my right of way, where there used to be a telephone.
Okay.
Do we have companies we buy signage or
Well, if
facility
they're,
supplies?
yeah, I mean, you can do them from like Parks and Rec magazines and stuff like that. Things that are actually noted with ordinance signs or specialty made.
Mm.
I don't think they're in the same lines as our street signs. They don't have to have that reflexivology.
How big are these signs you're wanting and how many over there? We put snow over there and stuff and that's gonna be kind of in the way.
I'm just thinking a standard sign like the. No parking, from here to the corner, just a standard street sign.
You ever seen those little ones that TG Sales and Service posts in the ground here on Deerwood's little piece of property? They're only
Yeah.
about this big and they've got two stakes and then they push them right in after they mow and it has a little icon of a dog pooping. And in the circle, it says, be kind, pick up after your pet,
Yeah, I'm thinking of exactly the
that kind of thing.
thing you had on the website, only
Okay.
it's totally different. Text, like there's a blue sign over there that says library,
There's
there's,
sort of like the no parking on the.
yeah, no parking here to corner.
Yeah, and I hate all those.
I'm
I'm not trying to rain on your parade, but I'm staunchly against putting any more signposts and stuff into any of our property. It's a pain.
You gotta mow around it, you
It's
gotta
pain.
plow around them.
And I really don't think, it's a great idea, but quite honestly, I can tell you off the top of my head, the name of the people doing this, I already know, it's been going on for years.
Mhm.
That sign ain't gonna mean a hill of
Yeah,
beans.
and again, I'm not thinking behavior, I'm thinking, once you cite somebody, if it's a posted property, that has to have some value.
Right, but there again, it's not their property, right? They're letting their dog there.
With their dog. How do you?
And I don't think you can cite them unless Travis visibly sees them standing next to their dog while they're doing it. And
Well, I'm
even
pretty
then-
sure if I see them, I can call somebody and they can be cited.
Like I said, it takes a community.
They can take a witness statement.
Right, right. They can't do it just because you said,
From the
but,
property.
yeah.
Right.
But I'm thinking there's already a post there, so do you need to something higher than? And again, I don't know what's over here on this property. I haven't inspected it, but
And where do we stop after that? Are we gonna do it on right of ways? Or are we gonna do it? Cause I know by the school, it's terrible. There's a lot of other city Well, that's
locations.
terrible, so we're gonna put up 100 signs.
It's everywhere. I mean, it's out at the cemetery even.
Mhm.
It's literally
Yeah, you're
everywhere.
kidding me.
There's open grass out there. Pull in with your car and toss your dog out.
Go outside football field.
Yep.
I was
It's terrible.
But we're not the only town. I mean, honestly, we're not the, this
It's
is
everywhere.
everywhere.
Just because I'm not alone in the boat. doesn't
No, I
mean I'm
know.
happy
Yeah,
and
I
singing,
know.
You know,
What if we had a designated dog park? You come, you live in town, bring your dog to this place, there's bags and a trash can there. There's ways around it, I don't know.
Who cleans up the dog park?
Don't look this way. You guys are looking at the wrong direction.
we know where it would fall, but
Where everything else seems to.
Bird and cat, put them in one spot.
I know. I've heard like pros and cons of dog parks too, Nick, where
Oh, right, yeah,
You
you
know,
got a bad dog there and all
you
of a
got
sudden.
bad dog there, and then you got liability, and dog got bit, and kid got bit, and oh,
That's why you just get a sign, not liable for injuries or.
And quite honestly, I mean, really, dog park. Good idea or not, whatever. The people that are doing this. That's too much of an inconvenience. A lot easier to open the door and
let them out.
walk 8 feet across your alley to Ron's yard.
Yep.
you gotta start looking out the windows.
I've been at like convenience stores or, gas
Mhm.
stations where they've had them all fenced in, part of it's turf, part of it's cement. And it's covered, it's littered with feces, and there's bags right there, and the whole thing is fenced in for the animal. I even brought my own dog in there. My poor dog didn't want to leave my side, it was so nasty.
What's the town there, go down 64?
Motley,
Motley. They have a dog park there behind the gas station. That
Mhm.
place is always so nasty.
yep.
You bring your dog in the
Mhm.
play in there.
See, and we don't want something like, to turn something like that, to turn into something.
Right.
uh, Unintended consequences.
Right. The problem is, as soon as something becomes public, everybody gets to use it, so it's not their problem anymore. But you get enough people angry. I mean, if Ron was a keyboard warrior. He could voice his opinion about how angry he is with this.
You know, I'm sure there's a few that go unpicked up at the wayside rest,
Oh, yeah,
but. On a whole, if that was going on. If they were just taking their dog out right to the wayside rest, you have the entire city. Or at least everybody that has kids that goes over there, takes their kids to that park. You'd
up in arms,
have them upset.
yeah.
Why, well, how is this happening? Why is this happening?
Mhm.
So. The same need should be applied here, I guess. Why is it happening? Why does Ron have to put up with it?
Right, I'm sure he's not the only one. He just has a very good platform in order to express his distaste.
Trail cam, put up a trail cam. Catch them, and then you got hard evidence of who it is.
What's a trail cam?
I'll bring one over to you.
But if we want to look into the signs at least, and
I made a note, I'll
Perfect.
do some digging,
Ross always makes them pretty cheap.
I mean. Companies like Granger have hundreds of pre-printed signs. If somebody must make a sign already printed that says.
Yeah.
You just want your ordinance.
Well, I don't know that we need to, I'm not saying specify the number. I don't think that's.
Or city ordinance.
Yeah, I'm just thinking.
Yeah.
Something
It
else.
doesn't- it doesn't even have to say our city ordinance, it just says city ordinances against not cleaning up after your pet. Yeah.
Thank you for that addition to the whole.
yes, Ron,
Thanks.
you're welcome. New business. We are on to a donation request from the Boys and Girls Club.
This communication came from Nikki Ranchati last week. I included it in your packet. I think, a request has been sent out to many of our entities throughout the city. I think the pond got a letter and the golf course got a letter. I believe at this point last year, when they were getting ready to consider being open, the board agreed that they were gonna wait and see, hold off and see what their financial situation is after a year being open before considering any financial support. So I think it's that time now, so I left it in your packet for discussion at this point. And I'm assuming, Max, you got like an inside track from the chamber that maybe you can fill the rest of the board members on.
They would be looking for that permanent funding now. And they have the grant application out. And we're waiting to see if that gets awarded, but if if it does, it takes care of them for the next, I believe it was 2 years. So it's it's a pretty substantial grant. I don't know number wise precisely what they're looking for. And I would think it would be a yearly request, like, over the next. We pledge so much over the next 3 years, at so much a year. Lots happened at Blackduck since then. Closing of the shade store. That hurt not only the folks that were employed there, it's gonna have the ramification, it's gonna ripple out. Just haven't seen no ripples yet. And ready. Like I said, I don't know the dollar amount, but I definitely think it's something we should entertain.
You know,
Invite them to,
like them. And see what they say. Last year, did we go a couple thousand over our projected budget for donations to even?
yeah,
That's cool.
like we always do.
And the pickleball courts, we donated to them.
And that's I know the chamber could do some. I think probably should.
And obviously, if they're going towards a liquor store and a golf course, I'm assuming. that it would be from one, and just the city, not
It would just be from the
three different
city,
ones.
Correct.
because
Technically.
They may not
we
realize
can't
that it's
donate, we
municipal.
can't donate.
Pretty down.
The only thing that like our enterprise funds could is like in kind or like golf, some green fees or some old merch stuff that the pond might have, things of that nature. Burger certificates of that nature, yeah.
Like, have her come in and kind of. Talk to us a little more about it and what she would.
I think we need to know. Well. Be very plain about it. You need a number.
Okay.
You need a number.
Well, and even if, okay, let's say for instance, we didn't have to donate to the ice fishing derby because we did it in 24 and the event didn't go, so they used 24's donation for this year's event. Let's say, for instance, that event doesn't continue. It's done it 2 years in a row, that's somewhere around between $500 and $700. Is that even a drop in the bucket of what they need? If you committed $500 a year for 3 years, that's gonna give them $1,500. What are they really trying to attain? No, I mean, our monetary donations to these local charities, these local organizations
Or what?
are what we really are focusing our efforts on, and Boys and Girls Club were so much bigger. They can look for large donations from, you know, probably corporate.
I mean, will they take anything? You bet.
It would be
But-
nice to know what they really need,
But
what
the
their
number
number
is,
is.
you know, is it $2,000 a year? Is it $5,000 a year? What are you looking for?
Right,
And we did not make a donation last year, is that correct?
No,
Yeah.
because at that time, and we had even asked, you know, is this kind of, are you looking for funds right now? And they said, no, we have our current funding source, but it's going to run out.
right.
And they've applied for another grant. And in the meantime, I'm sure they are looking for other funding sources to fill it in case they don't get it or don't get the full amount.
Well, I can email Nikki back and ask her if she can make time for one of your meetings for consideration.
See, yeah, my biggest concern is where, with the donation part of it, of anything right now, is where our levy's gonna be, where it's gonna be hit at. It, you know, is the shade store going to be sold? Is it, you know, is that tax base still going to be there? It's not just a,
Well, remember, regardless of that, I mean, whatever you get in from your liquor rent is what you have to donate.
and
That's your cap
yes, and that also puts a hit on the,
on how it helps how it helps the liquor store.
you know, how. You know, we really have to gauge. I see, they say 60 kids here, there's like, I think there's closer to 70 actually, but. And they are. So how do I want to put this? They are helping the kids, they are having some of the kids, you know, not everybody's an angel. But some of this is, some of these kids need this, and those kids are showing up. So they're not out on the street. You know, shattering windows
Well, don't they do meals too, right? Yeah.
and, or breaking our charging station or
Mhm.
whatever else,
Well, that stops at 8th grade, so.
yeah. We can stop at least that age. But just so you know, that is what I've heard from. Coordinator up there at the school is that they are getting the kids that need the help.
No,
Yeah, I think we have a budget every year for donations and we exceeded it, I believe, last year.
Yes.
Without donating to the Boys and Girls Club. So my concern is if we're now going to start, where's the money coming from? We've already exceeded in past years and as you mentioned, I don't think our revenues are increasing. I think they're gonna decrease based on
mhm.
lack of business.
And that's where I said there's a
So,
lot has happened since.
so if they're gonna decrease, are we gonna cut everybody back and still add a new customer to the donation trough? You know,
There are a couple big ones at the end of the year that a lot of kids and families rely on.
Yes, yes.
You know, or-
And where can our money base will be donated to affect the community the best?
The best. And that's not saying that your child that's in 9th grade doesn't matter,
So,
you know, but
continue over budget will affect our the levy, as you said. Is there a tolerance from local citizens to increase our?
I think of
funding?
all the things that we donate to, like at the Christmas time,
mhm.
kids. And I think the Boys and Girls Club is probably one of the best thing that's happened. Blackduck, I really don't wanna see it go. Just my thoughts. But. I mean, does that mean we cut the trap team and other things? Maybe, I don't know. But it's a conversation we need to have, and like I said, you have to put a number on this.
I'll reach out to Nikki.
And what's expected and, or what they're hoping for, and maybe
Sure.
not expecting, but
What's their goal?
you know,
What's their unmet need?
that'd be, so, yeah, Christine, if you wanna reach out to them.
Sure.
That'd be great.
See if I can get her to a meeting.
But it's definitely an asset that they're in the town, the boys and girls.
I agree.
It's a great place. Good stuff.
Annual appointments?
Well, C is gonna be pretty easy, Max. Christy Christensen, is relocating to North Carolina, South Carolina, one of the Carolinas. So this last week's planning commission was her last, meeting. So the planning commission agreed to, have a vacancy, so I need to update that on this document, and then I'll, oops. And then I'll make it public that we're looking for somebody to fill that. So I'll have this on the agenda on April 7th.
So at this point, it's just, we're just updating that it's vacant.
Correct,
We're not specifying someone.
correct. Yeah,
Got someone?
I mean, if we get somebody in the next 2 weeks from word of mouth, that's interesting, great, but I mean, usually it's been. Submit your letter of interest and come to a meeting, and if that's worked, great. I'd like to continue that.
Cost for audit services.
D. Chickens,
Oh, sorry.
that's okay,
This one,
I'll get to D, I'll get to E. Don, that's all you.
we have a chicken problem.
The eggs aren't enough?
It's gonna get worse, yeah.
Thanks, Tim.
I just saw it on the news, the chicks are flying off the shelves.
I
Yeah,
don't,
they are,
Mhm.
yeah. So with the cost of eggs and chickens and everything going up. I came in to ask Christina about what it would take to. Again, to see if we could have chickens in town. So. And she goes, well, what about the mess that they make? Well, they're in their own cage, their own pen, it's
Not free range chicken.
not free range chickens. And you would have to limit it, say. 8, 10 chickens or whatever, small yard, if you're gonna meet chickens or egg layers, whatever you're gonna have, And so. And most people that have chickens keep their pens spotless or very, very clean because. They don't want their eggs dirty or their chickens if they're meat chickens, they want their chickens clean, when I raised my chickens, I always kept all my chicken house spotless and, clean it out every couple days. So. She said, so she asked me to check and see what Bemidji's policy was. I couldn't get a hold of the lady. She didn't call me back today.
it's not on their website, it's not on their website.
I couldn't find it. So I stopped.
Okay.
I was up in Kellier today.
Great. What does Shelley say?
Oh, so I stopped in to see, is that her name?
Yeah.
Okay. I was up there for work and so I stopped and talked to that lady up there and very nice. And what their city policy is. They For farm animals, 10 acres or, you know, kind of like what we have.
Just like what we have,
Yeah,
okay,
for bigger, you know, farm animals, but in town, you can have chickens in town. As long as they're not free range and you have no roosters. And you know, they're in a pen and. And she goes, they have people that have them there. And so far, it hasn't been a big issue with them. And so.
how do they control what people have? How do they know that there's no roosters?
Well, you'll hear a rooster.
And how do they know if they're not free range?
Well,
Or they
the
control
neighbors
it.
will
How are
complain.
they controlling it?
Well, if. Well, Kellier is very small.
Yeah,
And the city, like. Your city limits in your city proper, you know, there's not chickens running all over.
Okay.
Somebody from Public Works or somebody from the. You know, somebody would see them running around or whatever.
okay,
And the people that have them, they know who they are.
so
Yeah.
do we do the same thing with them as we do with the dog feces?
They wouldn't be running around,
That's good.
you know,
What about predators? That's my concern. We already have coyotes and wolves that come through the area, sometimes the occasional bear. We have a lot of people that move to this town from larger towns that don't expect that, and they're shocked when there's a coyote running through the north side of Liberty Drive. They don't know what to do. Smaller animals could be susceptible to those predators as well as chickens.
if you have a proper cage. An enclosure. Where I live, when I had my chickens, which I wasn't supposed to have, I didn't know it, when I moved here. I, you know, I had red fox come up in my yard
Yep,
and they didn't get in my chicken coop. You know. I had my chickens for a couple of
You're
years,
still drawing predators.
but they could still come in.
Oh, yeah, but if there's chickens, it's gonna be like, they're gonna come through more often.
They didn't come in the yard. You know, my dog, we have a dog there, but. They still come through by the free church there. But. You know,
What are we getting at,
You want chickens?
I never had no problems. Yeah, I wanted to see if we can have chickens again, because this is the time of the year that we need to get them ordered, so.
I would be against it personally myself. Unless you had the acreage and you're on the outskirts of town or something, but in
Thanks.
town, I don't.
He's on the outskirts, aren't you on the outskirts?
well, the ordinance states that farm animals shall only be kept in an ag district of the city or on a residential lot of at least 10 acres in size, provided no animal shelter shall be within 300 feet of an adjoining piece of property. My biggest concern, and I shared this with Don when he first came
we'd
to
have to
me,
rewrite
is,
it,
excuse me?
we'd have to rewrite the ordinance.
Oh, you absolutely have to rewrite this ordinance. That's a gimme. My biggest concern is the smallest piece of property in town. City proper is 25 feet by 150. And your neighbors are gonna be really close. And how are they gonna feel about it? And that's why it has to be a city decision
Hmm.
to rewrite this and allow for. You know, just like, I mean, I think Kellier's got it. It sounds like they're doing just fine. I do have a concern for predators and what those, and what that public health could bring to the city. That's my concern is the predators. I mean, we already have cattle in the area with redneckies and Frenzels, everybody has, you
Well,
know.
everything's right on our border.
And right, yeah, and it's just gonna be a lot harder. You know, if we throw it out there, I mean, I wish the predators would take care of all the bunnies in town. I got no control over the bunnies,
Yeah.
Great.
there's a lot of them,
A lot of hair.
yep, yeah, I got them in mind too. Right, but yeah, I'm worried about the predators, because it never fails. When the bears come out of hibernation and if one comes through town, there's always somebody calling the cops or calling the DNR or whatever over that. And there's nothing you can do about that, but you put more food source out there, they're gonna come. How the rest of the town feels about that. Does it outweigh the risk? I don't know, probably.
I mean, I've had chickens,
It's a topical thing that's going on now due to the price of eggs, obviously.
but I've got the 10 acres.
You have 10 acres?
Move over.
Really? Of course, you're there in the mansion district.
Yeah, imagine who was responsible for writing that ordinance.
Your dad? So he could have chickens. You that you inherited that.
Anywho,
I have no problem rewriting the ordinance, but I need that support of the board that it's, I
there's a
mean,
lot of places that do it.
it's gotta go to a first and final reading. I have to advertise it.
Do you want it in front of the planning commission? Is that something that you
No.
gotta worry about?
I don't think it's a planning thing,
Okay,
no.
is Don required to notify his neighbors?
It's like I talked to Mary about it. Mary Rob, my neighbor,
Mhm.
and she goes, we didn't even know you had chickens last time you had them. And I had them for like 2.5 years. You know, I mean,
Did anybody else know Don had chickens?
I did,
Oh,
cause he told me.
well, I didn't know when I moved here.
I know, that's why I said,
No, if you
Yep.
have chicken, you'd be inviting any of us over for brunch, to sample the wares.
Well, you know, there's nothing better than farm fresh eggs.
I don't know, I'd have to be educated, so there's you, like every Sunday.
so I heard one person on the board that is not for it. And you know how much work it is to redo an ordinance and everything. Do I do it and put it in front of you guys and write it and put it on the public for comment? And then see what kind of a vote it gets?
I think with the right rules it'd be all right, but it's the enforcement of the rules that I worry about most.
You know, it'll be abused by some people and it's. You don't need every other house having chickens in town, I think, but that's just my opinion.
You know, you're not gonna get everything, well, you wouldn't probably get everybody that have chickens in their backyard.
And the one guy, what are they gonna do for waste or on somebody else's property or they'll throw it on right away, or we have a public health risk? You know, another year, couple months.
You can put waste in the trash, can't you? Garbage.
Well, I think what he was more or less referring to was like,
To the dump.
I think maybe you were also referring a little bit to like bird flu kind of stuff. I don't know if that's a big. I don't know enough about the topic, I guess, maybe, but
It's. Apparently, that's why egg prices are so high.
Well, I'll tell you guys, I don't have the time to enforce it. Okay,
Correct.
so if this ordinance gets revised, I'm probably gonna piggyback off of Kellier.
Yeah, I mean, she was very, very helpful. I was up there for an hour talking to her about all kinds of stuff. She told me about her sewer and water and.
Do they require a permit?
She didn't say
That
that.
might be one way to regulate it is having to get a permit for it. So then you got at least record of what they said they would.
You know, she's,
Yeah, we require dog licenses and cat licenses too, and I bet you 10% of the people in town do it. Not to poo-poo your idea, because I think it was great, but that's the downside to it.
no pun intended about.
Yeah, the poo-poo. Great conversation tonight. That's the biggest problem is regulating it is
enforcement.
enforcement is not gonna be. I don't want something to get carried away, but I understand. the
And I
benefit to it.
have my doubts about people. All of a sudden, there being 40 or 50 coops popping up.
Well, I would assume Kellier's
You know. what I mean?
limits the number. of
I know that
chickens.
yeah, you can only
Two
have.
Per residential or property has gotta be 10 or less.
I, you know, I didn't get that from her exactly.
Mm,
I could call her, maybe up there again this week anyway, so, but I could ask her.
I can email Shelley too.
She was very, very, very helpful.
Well, some of that too is you have to look at the animal units. Based on an NPC permit, all that garbage.
And is this
Probably
just
another
for-
reason why it's written the way it is.
Would this just be for chickens or can I get a cow too? Where does it stop?
The price of milk is pretty low.
Well, he's not, so I'll put a cow on my property.
Restrict the cubic output of waste, cow waste, that's bigger than chicken.
This is our,
I'll get a hog farm.
you next to right on.
We really have been talking about food way too much tonight.
Yeah, we're in it. Well, put it to a vote.
Well, let me do the legwork and I'll put it in front of you guys.
Okay,
Okay,
What's everybody's take on it right now? If it's 50-50, do it. If it's gonna get shot down, what's the point? of doing
yeah,
it?
well, Nick's got a very good point. The four of you are the ones that are gonna approve it, so it's gotta be 3-1, three votes, yes, in order for it to do, and you can't really say how you're gonna vote later.
exactly.
I mean, you know your thoughts. I'm glad you've been very honest with them, because that's important for you guys as a board to make a decision. But there's always been. There's always that unicorn where we've come through this and we've done all the work and then all of a sudden we're like. 3 people vote no and 1 person votes yes. Just, you could, if you talk to your neighbors. Right, and get their feedback. That's what should be influencing your vote.
You know, neighbors. right?
I do know your neighbors, and I'm sure they'll all say yes. I'm sure Don's neighbors would say yes. I can understand why maybe Nick's neighbors would not.
Would not.
Your density is much greater where Nick lives versus where Don lives.
So if it's 2-2,
Then it doesn't go, it doesn't pass.
but. Again,
Let me do some legwork. I'll talk to Shelley. Don can continue talking with Shelley, maybe Bemidji. I'll get some drafts and I'll hopefully present them, and if you guys like the drafts, then I'll continue making it forward, but it's gonna be a process. It's not an overnight thing. Just like
Right.
Tyler and George tonight, it's not an overnight thing,
ordinance is a step.
right?
Okay.
Good.
On to you.
Thanks for your time.
Okay, so it is my responsibility to let the council know that the financial audit for 24 is nearing a close. We're wrapping up some adjusted journal entries. CLA has been working really hard to tie a lot of our cash and our trial balance of this past year to previous years to make all the numbers work. I had a visit with them on Wednesday or Thursday. Based upon their statement of work for audit services and what they proposed for costs, they have put in several more hours than they anticipated to bring our city's audit to where their standards are to meet. Several obstacles, communication with previous auditors, communication on, how we've been, doing our finances for as many years as we have. And they've accrued more hours and more costs for services to the tune of $11,000. My conversation with them last week was they are willing to split those additional costs with the city 60-40. I didn't ask which one was 60, which one was 40, but I'm guessing it's us for 60. I'm not horribly disappointed, but I am I'm not completely surprised. I'm just sticker shocked. And feeling as though a good portion of this is on my lap. I explained to Chris and Troy both that this was not my decision. I couldn't approve this. They moved forward with a phone call with Maps to get a council feedback, and good or bad, going forward, they understand the way we operate, and the way we have been operating has been a little bit more difficult than what a typical cash-based accrual city has been. So they did not anticipate, when they provided their scope of work and services to us, running into these additional hours for services. So we're kind of painted into a corner. That's how I said Chris and Troy.
I told them they were gonna hear the phrase over a barrel.
Oh, painted into the corner was me. I was pretty frustrated last week. I mean, it didn't matter what the cost was. It's just an additional cost, and it's not easy to stomach this to begin with. I explained to them both that as it sits right now, the services that we agreed to for the 24 audit far exceeds what was budgeted for 25 that was approved for the levy, and supporting those funds is going to have to come from reserves as well as this, and we're stuck. We're one of those cities, even though we're a cash basis city, under 1,000 people, we have to provide a full audit to the state auditor because of the level of funding that comes into us. If it exceeds $750,000, you have to have a full audit, and we've been doing that forever. I mean, our full entire city's budget, all entities included, plus debt, exceeds $4 million every year. Expenses and revenue. We can't avoid it. We're a very small city operating with a very large budget, doing everything a big city does. And we're stuck having to do an audit for the state. But CLA was the only one that came to us and said, we'll do it for you. So we need to have this. That's why I said we're painted into a corner. And they get that. I mean, they've been great to work with, don't get me wrong. I've learned a lot, and I think moving forward, there's gonna be some additional responsibilities that I'm gonna have to turn the city around to do on the finances for reporting to make this audit easier.
Can I point out that a lot of the discussion I had with them at this point was not Christina doing anything wrong or not getting it. It was more or less Miller McDonald not cluing anybody in. I mean, there are standards that these guys have that go above and beyond anything Miller McDonald was even looking at.
Yeah, and
It's
for
been,
lack of not being able to be involved in that side of it with Miller McDonald, I was never informed until CLA came, and I knew going into this that there was gonna be some doors that are open that I did not know needed to be walked through.
and I had that explained to me. And they said that, honestly, Christina, you were wonderful to work with. It's been good. But I mean, they told me, I said, well, this is the first time since I've been on the council that I've ever been contacted about an audit.
By the audit company.
By the audit company.
Yeah.
And they said, that's a mandate. That is supposed to happen every year. They talk with somebody from the city council.
Really?
Yes.
In the previous years, I've sent confirms and letters to all the council members. There's been that conflict of interest
Correct.
statement that you attest to, and you've sent it to the auditors. I didn't know that they actually have to physically reach out and speak to one of you.
And they also said that it could be to their benefit to actually appear in person.
Yeah, I tried to save us some money. That was the other part of my conversation. I'm like, okay, remotely, if I can do this, despite the workload, and I've filled you guys in on this before, would it have offset the $11,000? If you came in person? And he said, for some things, maybe, but not all of it.
So
And there was just things that were not, the expectations weren't there to know that until they got into it.
And they have accounting practices, like I said, I didn't know about. Now, that being said too, they're not trying to get us for the entire amount.
And can I just clarify? I want to make sure I heard you correctly. You said the overage is 15,000, 11,000 total. And their document, I think that we signed says 30,000
Yeah.
financial statements and 5,000 statement preparation.
Yeah.
So that would be 35,000 total plus 11,000
Yes,
Correct.
would bring us up to
47, I think.
40.
Not plus 11, it would be 7.
It-
Yes.
Yeah, it would be a percentage of that 11, Ron.
Right.
Yeah.
But the total cost of which they're going to absorb some would be 46.
How much were you paying Miller McDonald?
Half that.
16.
This is gonna be a
16?
yearly thing at $40,000.
Yeah.
And when I asked if this overage is something, they said, when I asked, okay, so this is this is a big learning year for everybody. We're all getting our feet wet.
Right, there's been a lot more
It's much-
compliance that they've needed to gather in order to start fresh.
And so I said, with that, since this is our first year, everybody's learned it, now we shouldn't see overages like this. I said, it's one thing for me to dive into. For me to start on a carburetor I've never worked on before. And say it's gonna take me, an hour, and all of a sudden I go, crap. This is different.
Mhm.
I mean, it's still kind of the same, but it's different,
Right,
and it ends up taking you an extra hour. It's not fair to us
no,
to have to eat the cost. But at the same time, is it necessarily fair to them? I understand where they're coming from a labor point,
yeah,
but I let them know that I was not thrilled with, any kind of overage at a price that we had already
Agreed to.
been stated, and the fact that they are the only option. We don't have another option. So it's not like us saying, oh, no, we're not gonna pay you, and then.
We're back into a corner. There's nothing we can do about it. We have to pay. I mean, What do you
there's
do?
so many have tos, it's beyond, I mean, we have to have a financial audit. We
The
need to have an
HR
independent one done.
Mhm.
They are the ones that agreed to do it. We agreed to let them do it. We
The-
signed a 3 or 5 year. Agreement with them. On their terms,
But I don't
but
want,
this is, I hope this isn't the overage. We're gonna have one more recap meeting in another week or so. When they're just about done. Troy and I entertained a couple other options. One of the long-standing suggestions by Miller McDonald is that I learn. And be able to, be educated on, GASB reporting.
that's the one.
Yeah, and I've been avoiding it because. Miller McDonald's been doing that for us for so long. Troy told me today, he's like, you're kind of already doing some of it. So it might not be too big of a push to get you through it, but if I have to, I'm gonna have to. In order for. I'm gonna back up.
Yep,
One of the things I've always lived by is to leave it better than the way I found it.
Mhm.
Okay? I wanna do that with my position, and if it means leaving this city in an audit standpoint better than the way I found it, then I'm gonna try my best to do that for the city.
No, when you signed up for these, you signed up for three, you said 3 to 5 year stint?
The agreement has, yes, that's how we put the RFP up. Was I think 5 years.
So is this agreement that we signed, that 30,000 plus 5,000 would theoretically apply for the 5-year period of the agreement, or can they raise it every year?
No, you guys signed it. The agreement had.
Yeah.
The next 3 years planned out.
Oh, the increase?
Yeah, I don't think the statement of work audit services that I provided to you guys for tonight's work session actually has it.
Okay,
That's just for this year, but
so there's an increase every year.
yeah,
Built
in the
into
RFP, which
Okay,
I didn't give you guys, there is that, it is broken out.
yeah.
You guys did review it.
so they can't, so there's a fixed number already picked for next year.
That is correct.
Which is increased.
Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
So they can't increase that just to say, okay, there won't be any overages and then bump that up 11,000.
Well, there is a clause in the agreement that states any excess over the
Yeah.
expected work.
So they could
Would-
theoretically have.
oh, yes, they can.
11,000.
Oh, yes, they
next
could.
year, but they couldn't wrap it into the signed amount. They'd have to list it as an overage.
They would have to list it as an overage,
Just
that's
like they
correct.
do it this year.
Yes, yeah. They're not anticipating it, but they have to CYA,
Mm.
right?
Did you get that impression when you said that there's,
When we approved it, it was
they're not
kind
gonna
of
be an
clear as
overage?
day that if there were
Correct.
overages, we would pay for it.
Yes,
And it did. give
and
us
it,
the
and it spelled
3 year-
that out.
Above and beyond, there's actually there's a higher rate, wasn't it?
Yes.
If I remember right.
I
Yes.
mean, we put in, when we put out the deal that having people apply to be our auditors,
They were,
they were the only one, like, in the state.
No, I'm just planning ahead thinking,
I'm,
gonna be another 11 next year on top of it, another.
well,
11.
I would.
I would hope not, and I don't think CLA is anticipating that, Ron.
Judging from the,
They're, I'm not gonna tell you that they've got us over a barrel and they're doing this with bad intentions, you know. They have only our good interest at heart, but they also have to take care of their staff.
Mhm.
It is a very strong possibility that the reason Norm McDonald dropped us is because they could not do with their staff the time and what they provided to us for a price, what we're requesting of them every year, especially knowing what CLA has had to do now. My understanding through the grapevine is Nolan McDonald got rid of all their cash basis accrual cities. They don't have the staff to handle it.
because the accounting practices, nobody does that stuff. That's really specialized.
It is really specialized, but it's even more if you're an accrual cash-based city instead of just a straight GASB
Okay,
governmental accounting standards.
yeah, because when they were telling it to me, I was like Googling.
Larger cities have finance directors that do all of the GASB reporting. So when because their volume is so much higher, so that when they do have their independent audit, they've got a lot of that stuff, those boxes checked. So maybe the extra effort I need to put into this will help the city in the long run. But
And that's,
I have to let you guys know that it's gonna come down the pike and
it is what it is.
it is what it is.
we knew that coming into it because it was such a new company, the only company, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when the water plant goes down, we gotta fix it. We don't have a choice, right? We have to do an independent audit. State requires it if we wanna keep our LGA. And we need that. So, yes, we're backed into a corner, but it's something we absolutely need to do, and it's
Part of being transparent too.
my responsibility to make sure you guys know that unfortunately, as much as I hate it, it has to happen. Or it's gonna happen. I'm thankful they're at least willing to work with us a little bit, but it doesn't make it easier to stomach.
40%.
Ugh. I'm like the only one in town that doesn't wanna spend money.
She said with a wink.
Hey, I've got water leaks in my roof. Do you think I wanna spend money? You shush.
Anything else?
No, I'm done.
Like I said. There was nothing but positives, was my conversation with Troy.
Thanks.
With that.
Motion to adjourn.
Hey, Nick's on it.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We stand adjourned.